Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 So life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flaws, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.
Hi, Bullhorn Betty. Thank you for my shirt. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Kids Club.
whole time he putting bodies in there. Oh my God.
Something wrong with the dog, because I used to see the dog run around there barking in them.
You know, dogs gonna tell you.
Right, and chickens running around. Shit, ain't nothing in their yard running no more. I guess they probably killed the motherfucking dog and ate the chicken, and they cleaned them. You don't see no dog.
Was he black or white?
White.
White?
Oh, too white. Oh, damn me.
I knew it. I said, I bet they white. Y'all, this stuff is crazy, bruh.
They crazy as hell.
I'm finna cross over there so I can get a little closer.
I can't see none of that.
You could come over here. You want to walk across the street with me? You could cross with me. Yeah, cross on with me. I got you. Thank you.
So as you guys are hearing, there was something going on in St. Louis yesterday. And apparently what was leaking out is that it was a mass grave in the back of somebody's house. And I'm like, wait, what? And so this was sent to me. And so I'm like, how did I not hear this on breaking news? How am I not hearing about this massive grave? And so I start doing some research and I get an understanding of what's going on. So I do want you to hear the next clip, which is from the public information officer out there in St. Louis. I want you to hear exactly what he has to say for himself. He doesn't disclose who this is, but we think we found out who they are talking about and why they're at this St. Louis home. Give me just a second. There we go.
To get enough information to execute a search warrant here at the home. I can tell you that as of right now, suspected narcotics have been found inside the home. That is the only thing that our detectives have been able to locate so far. 2 people have been detained, a male, a 43-year-old, and a female. She is 39. She was taken into custody because of an outstanding warrant. It's my understanding it was for a domestic. At this point, I want to dispel some rumors that have been circulating on social media, and that is things from a mass grave to babies.
So there you guys have it. You've got a sneak peek on what's in store. So welcome back to the Bullhorn Betty show. As you guys know, we're diving into a chilling, heartbreaking story out of St. Louis. We still don't know if the information I have is accurate, but I have a funny feeling it is. And we're going to go into that as we dive into this case. Let's see here. In 2020, July 2020, a gal by the name of Breayn Lee Miller, she was born March 1999. I believe she was 20 or 21 at the time she vanished. And she vanished without a trace. And for years, her case was largely forgotten until now. And of course, in this quiet neighborhood, it seemed quiet. You know, there's a lot of commotion in it. From my understanding, people kind of stay to themselves and move about. This is a Dutchtown neighborhood and has become the center of an FBI-led excavation project. They are digging up the backyard. So this is obviously stirring up new hope for the family to see if this has anything to do with Breayn Lee Miller. The interesting thing is that her parents' house in 2023, I believe, was also excavated, which is kind of giving you guys this tone of what we're diving into and what information we have. So Breayn Miller was last seen July 26, 2020. She was 20 or 21 at the time. She's now 26. Breayn lived in St. Louis and had been in and out of touch with family members. Family describe her as kind but struggling. You can clearly see that the photo that I have on my thumbnail does not quite depict how she looked at the time she disappeared. Online posts by relatives over the year hinted at a deeply troubled household. She lived at home with her mom and what I believe is her dad. Breayn's disappearance didn't spark the urgency that it deserved, and that's what we have a problem with in the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case. Why isn't there any more urgency than there is from his mother, the last person that was reported to see him alive? Reports suggest that at the time, few outside of her immediate circle knew that she was missing, and it would take 4 long years. This is the 5th year, and shocking tips for authorities to get a little closer. So I'm going to start playing for you guys some information that I have available. This is the one that I had picked up on this morning as I was researching, because I knew that we had an identity of Delore and Dewey, and that was something that was stated in the press conference. So I started doing some work, and in my work, this person and this face came up. She's a beautiful young girl. I can tell you this is not the way she looked when she went missing. This was a very cleaned up photo. It looks like she has been gripped by the drug epidemic that sweeps across this country, and don't know what happened, but I would have to presume with her parents' yard being backed up, digged up as well in 2023, that I guess proper English would be dug up, in 2023, it doesn't leave us to believe that her parents were much better. It just in my opinion. Now, is this a mass grave in the back of this St. Louis home? I don't believe that is the case. I believe that they're there for one specific person, but because of the level of police involvement on that particular street, gave the appearance there was something worse. And not only that, by this time they had like 2 or 3 holes already dug up. So I think people were believing that each hole that they dug up was a potential body, and that rumor started to get out and become wild. It doesn't believe that. I truly believe that they're at this house executing a search warrant on Breayn Miller. So we're going to be talking about her case because it seems like that would be relevant in this matter. With her being gone since July 2020, nobody has seen or heard from her. I would have, if this wasn't for the scene that we were seeing on the outside of that home, I would have already determined that she was the statistical anomalies, the statistical probabilities would indicate that she is deceased. Okay. And she is deceased most likely by home environments if one of the 3 elements exist, which is domestic violence, alcohol abuse, drug abuse. One of those things, a combination of those things, or all 3, how we get to places like this. Not all the time, but the majority of the time, statistically, you're going to find one of those 3 issues being involved in a lot of heinous stuff. So without further ado, let me get on here and start letting you guys hear. I went back all the way to her mother's account. And here's her post from her mother. My daughter, Breayn Lee, has still not been seen. If anyone has any information, please come forward. Not a very dedicated mother, it doesn't seem. There's no photo of her daughter. There's no avocation for her daughter. This is literally 5 months after her daughter disappeared, between 4.5 to 5 months. And this is the best her mother could provide for her. So I'm not expecting too much. Did the parents have anything to do with it? I personally don't know if her parents had anything to do with it. I don't know if somebody else in that community, just to me, from everything I've seen, looking at the maps and stuff like that, not to dog the area. I'm sure there are great people there, but it seems like this area is plagued with drugs. So it could be a situation like that. Again, I personally don't know. I'm just diving into this case. I can only tell you what I'm seeing on my cursory review, and it doesn't seem like the best type of lifestyle here for this young person, probably growing up. If it's like this for her at 20, I don't see, 2021, I don't see that, changing at all. So we're just going to go back in time, learn a little bit about this case before we start going back to the press conference and you guys understanding what led investigators to that home. And as you see, we're going to also get to some map stuff so you guys can see where she was last dropped off at versus the house that they are digging up the backyard as we speak. Police are searching a backyard of a South St. Louis woman who's been missing backyard for a South St. Louis woman who's been missing nearly 3 years. So this was in, I think, 2023. This was in 2023. Must be for the parents. Miller was last seen in South St. Louis after her boyfriend picked her up from a local casino. At the time, police said there was a verbal altercation, and Miller's boyfriend dropped her off in the vicinity of South Grand Boulevard and Delore Street. Delore Street, I think is how you pronounce it. She was never heard or seen from again. Few details have been released in the case, and just based upon that, let's face it, the boyfriend was the last one to see her. He would be top suspect number one, in my opinion, and unless he could be cleared shortly thereafter, which I don't know if he could. We don't know any details of the information. This is the first time we're kind of hearing about this case. This is the first time we're feeling, touching, seeing, and the first time we're actually looking up under the hood. So a few details have been released about this case. Detectives would not say why their most recent search led them to Miller's parents' backyard. This, again, was an excavation in 2023, not the one that was just happening yesterday. The home is vacant, but neighbors are concerned that people are digging. Law enforcement is using excavating equipment and ground penetrating radar to see if they can find anything. If anything has been buried. I know there was a crew out here with ground penetrating radar. They were out here a couple of hours. I guess this would be a neighbor, Adam Canoe. If I'm saying that right now correctly, they did identify some areas where they think they found something, and to my knowledge, they did not excavate anything. Let's read on. Box 2 has learned that the police were tipped off that something connected to Miller might be on the property. Police have stopped short of getting into any specifics, and there's no mention of where they found anything. Just today, they went back there with shovels and dug down about 2 feet with and using little sifters. When you're starting to use little sifters, there might be some other types of. It's not for normal decomp, in my opinion. And come back with nothing. So they are still looking for her, neighbor Tom Seller says. And I believe there was a video associated with this, but I don't remember if, I think that's just an ad. That might not be it. Why is this not going the way I need it to go? I also wanted to show you guys this, a little more information. This was back in 2024 from Missouri Missing. Hopefully you guys can see that. I just lost my audio, so let me just go ahead and kill that real quick. Hold on a second. Yay, StreamYard, and they want us to give them referrals for this nonsense. They've lost their ever-loving mind. That's all I can say. They have lost their ever-loving mind. They need a freaking audio engineer on the team. They should be making enough money to afford one. Missing and unsolved. Breayn Miller. Is it up on the screen or is it just still me? Oh, okay, there we go. Just so you guys can have just a tidbit more information. Breayn Miller, a 21-year-old woman, went missing 4 years ago following a disagreement with her boyfriend. He was the last person to see her on July 26, 2020. Breayn's boyfriend had to pick her up from Lumiere Casino. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. And after a verbal dispute, she exited the vehicle near South Grand Boulevard and Delore Street in St. Louis, Missouri. Breayn, a Caucasian female, she stands about 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighs approximately 110 pounds at the time of her last sighting. She was recently celebrating her 21st birthday, so she was 21 at the time of her disappearance. Before her disappearance, would be 25 years old today, which again, this was in 2024. Breayn was born March 21st, 1999. She had brown hair, blue eyes, and a shaved head on the side at the time of her disappearance. Additionally, she had a pierced lip and several tattoos, including the name Rob on the side of her neck, 2 hearts on her thigh, and a red heart inside a black tribal design on her right upper arm. Breayn Miller has been entered into NamUs. They've got the NamUs number, and they say anybody that has any information to reach out to St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department and or Crime Stoppers. And so this is going to be shocking. This is more in line with how she looked before she disappeared. You can kind of tell that this is not, this is more substance abuse appearance than anything. So it's my belief she was engaging in substance abuse. And, who knows? It may be what led to, it sounded like she could have had a gambling problem. I don't know too many 21-year-olds that are spending their time at a casino. Just a thought to throw out there. But now I want you guys, now that you guys know about her missing, again, this is some more stuff. This one actually has high resolution printable flyer to be passed around. There's kind of the heart and tribal on her upper left arm. So you get to see some of the tattooing here. This is kind of her appearance, the shaved on the one side over here. So you guys get the idea of where she is, and what brings us to the point we are to. We're not quite there today. Sorry, I'm kind of running through this too quickly because I've lost my place. I think we're right here. So this now brings us up to 2024, and talking about searching in the 2020 in the year 2024 of a South St. Louis woman who's been missing nearly 3 years, but led to the victim's backyard. So this was in 2024. I believe this was in 2024. Either way, it sounds like her boyfriend is a person of interest and potentially her own mother and father. And then it leads us to where we are today, where the FBI concludes the dig of a St. Louis backyard.
On May 10th, a drunk driver killed Miguel Artiga as he waited to cross the street. He also killed the day he was...
Good gracious. Nobody wants to hear that. We'll get there, y'all. We'll get there. So now it comes back where the FBI is concluding a dig of the St. Louis backyard, possibly tied to the person's missing person case. We will come back to this article, but now it's appropriate for me to now add in the press conference that was given. This is St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department's public information officer. I think he does an outstanding job in explaining things and keeping things to his chest. But what led us here to find out who they're truly looking for is because he, just like any other human being, wasn't trying to give any details of the person that they're investigating, but he referenced a 2020 missing person case. And that's what led me down the road of trying to identify who this missing person is. And I truly do believe that they're there at that house digging up the backyard for Breayn Lee Miller, born March 1999 and was last seen on July 26, 2020 in the vicinity after having an argument with her boyfriend. So let's listen to the public information officer here.
To execute a search warrant here at the home. I can tell you that as of right now, suspected narcotics have been found inside the home. That is the only thing that our detectives have been able to locate so far. 2 people have been detained, a male, a 43-year-old, and a female. She is 39. She was taken into custody because of an outstanding warrant. It's my understanding it was for a domestic. At this point, I want to dispel some rumors that have been circulating on social media, and that is things from a mass grave to babies. It is deplorable that people would spread that type of misinformation in our community, cause panic and fear to spread. without getting verified information and posting it and redistributing it. So I think.
And I just want to say, I know how hate channels love to blame me, but it wasn't me. It was the locals, as usually it is, that are out there with their cameras, not knowing what's going on, but seeing 3 holes and not realizing they're looking for one person. And I mean, they were probably panicked too, wondering what was going on in their community. But I wouldn't necessarily, because I looked through it and it looked like it was the neighbors standing out there that were putting all of this out on social media and I showed you guys one example where they're talking about, you know, a mass grave and eating dogs and chickens and it just gets, the better part of their imagination gets the best of them. And so I wanted to make sure that we cleared everything up with this case because they are looking for somebody. And yes, there are multiple holes in the back of that house, but they're looking for a specific person. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear this beautiful Friday morning.
Each of you for being responsible and helping get the truth and the facts out about what happened. Again, just to reiterate, as of right now, no human remains have been located. The only thing that we have found is suspected narcotics, and we have detained 2 people relative to that. At this point, I will open it up to some questions.
Are you looking about the missing person report that this is related to?
I can tell you that it is not a recent missing person. This is a...
So you're going to hear him. He's not going to tell us at this press conference who they are looking for. I'm almost 100% confident. Well, I'll say 99.9% confident. Again, Breayn Lee is what I would assume is the search. And it also is realized in this press conference that these people were under investigation and the investigators are, no secret to the people residing in that particular home.
A missing person case that has been investigated for several years, and that is what led us up into it.
How many years?
We're not going to get into specifically who. I can tell you that it is several years old.
Are you looking for a body? I assume that's what's going on there.
I will let the equipment speak for itself.
You guys have been out here maybe since 7 o'clock this morning digging. I mean, neighbors are saying that there are 2 holes and there's a third underway. Can you give us more details about the digging aspect?
Sure. I think the digging process started late morning, early afternoon. The FBI is helping us. They are very meticulous in that process, and there's a very careful system and process that has to be followed when doing this type of search, especially when you're turning the dirt and you're using this type of equipment. So the FBI is doing that. That started late morning, early afternoon. Most of the search warrant throughout the morning was centered in the house, which is where we found the suspected narcotics.
You all believe bodies are in that backyard?
We've developed information to believe that this could be related to a missing person investigation.
So one potential missing person.
Yes. Let's not spread rumors or take rumors from social media.
You say detained.
And it's not social media. Yes, these are people. I think law enforcement needs to get a little more hip on this. Okay, people do post to social media, but they're not social media. They're just posting stuff on social media. The content creators take that information and put it out to you guys in a more palatable presentation than the chaos that was ensuing with everybody having their phones out. So yes and no. Is it on social media? It is on social media, but it's not by social media. Okay. It's by other people that watch social media, typically not content creators, people that are on the grounds, neighbors, if you will, that are providing this. So yes and no, but it's their community that's confused, not social media, because I just got wind of this yesterday, and within a few hours, I had a full show presented here on social media to explain this case, to say, no, it's not mass graves out there. Just thought I would just clarify things for this lovely PIO officer.
2 people arrested.
2 people were detained. immediately after finding the suspected narcotics and to do the search warrant. And then one person is now going to be considered under arrest in custody related to the outstanding warrant.
Is one of the persons in custody the homeowner or the homeowner's roommate?
I don't have that information.
So just to clarify, the 32-year-old female when you said had outstanding warrants, is she the one that's been arrested?
She's the one that has outstanding warrants, is in custody.
So then what about the man?
He's being detained right now.
Is that for the suspected narcotics, and she was just detained for the outstanding warrants?
Just being detained right now. We're still trying to sort through all the details.
Did both these people live in that house?
I'm trying to decide if they're back at the parents' house again. I really am. It's just so close. It is just so close. Let me just take you guys for a detour. We're going to take a detour real quick. Hopefully I didn't lose my audio. I didn't. So here's what we've got. I went ahead and logged it. Let me pull this up just a little bit bigger. Okay. It's like a city block. A little over, maybe this would probably be, a block and a half. Okay. This is where her boyfriend said he dropped her off. They got into an argument. He picked her up from the casino. They got into an argument and she exited his vehicle at this intersection. Well, the house that they're digging up, 410, is right over here. You see that? And when you listen to the stuff, and I'm still doing some digging on it, maybe my audience can help me if you're in the St. Louis area. But this is where all of this is transpiring. And again, why I stated that this is 99.9% probable that we're looking for Breayn Lee Miller in this dig. She hasn't been heard or seen from in 5 years. This is typical of these areas. I'm sorry. I just, I wish things moved a lot quicker for this. This is a heavily dense area, right? Heavily dense area. They probably got good internet. How did she get a hold of him to pick her up from the casino? Does she have a cell phone? What other trackable, traceable devices does she have? Where was her last known location? Did she ping anywhere else if she had a cell phone? These are all the stuff that's being held close to the chest of law enforcement and have been held close to the chest with law enforcement for a significant amount of time. And for Noel, for your question, or unless it's Noel, I don't know. Sorry if you're a guy. Usually we're used to women over here. I will be back in Idaho. For the summer trial. I'm still trying to decide at what point I want to be there. I'm thinking, if it just really depends, if I can find accommodations relatively inexpensive, then I'll be there for the duration of the trial. If the cost is up there, we can only do what we can do, and so I'll have to decide and determine that. Okay, Noel, I'm 50. Okay, Noel. I just wanted to make sure. So at the end of the day, I will be back to Idaho. It's just going, how long I'm going to be there is really going to be dependent upon my budget at the time I want to make sure first and foremost that we are truly going to proceed to trial in August, because once I set those, set the trip up, it's costly to, protect yourself with the insurance. And so no matter what you do, you're going to be eating something if things go south. So I have opted just to wait and see how the discovery and other stuff plays out in that case and make sure that August time is a for sure thing. And then once we find out if it's a for sure thing, we're going to have to go to the budget and determine whether or not we're going to be driving all the way to Idaho, or if we have decided we're going to be flying to Idaho. I have not determined that yet. Again, it comes down to the budget I have at the time I make those arrangements. But we will be there. That's the good thing. We will be there. So as you guys can see, once again, we have a clear map, a clear understanding of why I believe this is Breayn Lee Miller And we're going to go over a little more information, but let's first listen to the rest of the public information officer and make sure that we have a good understanding of what's out there. He's very, very secretive about a lot, but he also, lets go of a lot in it, what led me to this person's identity.
I don't know.
Were there any recent arrests at this property before this search warrant was executed today?
It's my understanding that this home has been the topic by neighbors for some time, and anything related to what they share with us or anything that our officers have been called to prior to today will all be part of our ongoing investigation.
How long do you expect the digging process to take place?
It's the million-dollar question. We don't know. We're not going to stop. I think that the fact that we're out here for a missing person case that stems from 2020 sends a clear message to our community that we don't forget about anyone that's missing or victims, and we're going to not stop here until we know that we have exhausted every clue or development that was brought to our attention.
Just to clarify.
It was that right there, the 2020, that brought us to Breayn Lee Miller.
The yard, I presume, is part of the property.
This is what search for suspected narcotics and then turned into based on what you developed, or did it start with the missing person and then narcotics were found?
It started with the missing person investigation. That's what led us here today. During the search warrant, that's where we found the suspected narcotics.
Can you tell us if the missing person is an adult or a child?
Is an adult. Thank you for the clue. I'm not sure the exact age. I just know it's a missing adult. Thank you for the clue.
Is it a man or woman?
That person that missing is
He won't acknowledge whether it's a man or a woman. So I just wanted to point that out.
Is it a man or woman?
that person that missing is
several years. We're not going to get into the specific year. Remember,
You did say
2020. Then I'll leave it to 2020. But
See, he didn't even realize he made that mistake because it happens. Even last night when I was talking about the issues with CP throwing KP and Seth under the bus, I even called, when I meant to refer to Seth, I called Seth, which I'm pretty sure he was probably ready. If he watched it, he was probably ready to smack me. I called him Chris. Chris Proudfoot. I heard it myself. I'm like, did I say Chris Proudfoot? Basically threw Katie Proudfoot and Chris Proudfoot under the bus, and I meant to say Seth Rogers. So it does happen. So he didn't even realize he let one of the details he didn't want out slip. So even professional public information officers, they themselves have leakage and inadvertently, leak some information that they didn't intend to say. 2020 was a year of riots and illness, in my opinion. That's right. That was right in the bulk of it. This must have been, well, this is recent. But all the other stuff I looked, I didn't remember seeing anybody with masks on their face. I forgot all about, it's funny because as much as COVID, took over our lives, I constantly forget, the era that some of these stories that we're talking about was in. So.
But keep in mind, guys, that there's, when you start to think about all the number of people that are reported missing that might be victims, this turns up a lot of emotion for people. And we have to make sure that we are protecting our victims and the families of people that have been reported missing. So that's why we don't want to get into the specifics necessarily of
Sorry, public information officer. I truly believe in freedom of the press, and we are convinced that this is related to the search of Breayn Lee Miller.
The particular case, because this can cause a lot of fear when we don't know if this is even going to turn out to be anything worthwhile.
And it's my understanding, as of the end of yesterday, nothing was found that led them any closer to recovering Breayn Lee Miller. Breayn Lee Miller.
Maybe just a tip that we said, you know what, we had enough information. There were enough things that started adding up that we wanted to look a little further into this. which led us to the search warrant, the approved search warrant. But it's very possible that we don't find anything. But if we don't find anything, that case doesn't stop. You know, we're going to keep looking, and I want to reassure all of the families that have missing loved ones. We are not going to stop, and I think this sends that very clear message to them.
With that in mind, have you been in contact with the family of the missing person?
We're not going to get into any of those details.
The question was, did they have any contact with the families, with the missing person's family? And he said he didn't want to get into that. And I think a lot of the reason why he doesn't want to get into that is that will lead us right to who the person was that he was trying to keep under wraps. But we now know that they've been to the parents' house several times. This is an adult child that apparently lived with her mom and dad, or mom and her boyfriend, or whatever the case may be. I don't have the specific dynamics of her personal home environment, but it seems like they're suspects in this situation. I'm not quite sure. I don't know how I feel about the boyfriend, just, whatever, but for them to keep showing up this close to the family's home, it makes you scratch your head that, law enforcement must have exhausted all efforts toward the boyfriend and he came up clean. Otherwise, I feel like they would be digging up his backyard, not her parents' backyard. This is very concerning for me. 5 years later. Yeah, 5 years later. It also shows you, I get that law enforcement's dedication to the cases are great, but did they drop the ball early on that got us to this point where we're still waiting 5 years for justice? We have to remember these are adult people. When it comes to adults, it's a lot harder, and let's face it, law enforcement doesn't take it seriously enough. Period. They just don't. We have the problems here. We just talked about a case in Sarasota County where a lady's been trying to find her drug-addicted daughter for 6 blessed months. And Sarasota County sent her to Sarasota City, sent her over to Charlotte County. And finally, after 6 months, Sarasota County decides to take the missing person report. It's a sad day in our country where we have all these drugs, all this violence, all this stuff not being classified as what it is. We have law enforcement reporting murders as accidents and suicides so they don't have to do their job. Oh, believe me, there's a lot of that going on, more than you'd like to know. We protect and back the blue that is respectful and does their job correctly. People that intentionally cut corners at that job in our law enforcement, they get the full weight of Bullhorn Betty. I'm not very kind because we trust them. We trust them with our lives, literally. And when they lie to us and deceive us and make us not trust them, that's detrimental for every law enforcement agent across this country wearing a badge. And I don't like it because I care that much about our law enforcement. Do you remember when we used to have 24 hours? Yeah, they used to make you wait 24 hours. They've now say if a missing person's missing, file the report. Some people still try to play that nonsense. And no, you sit in that chair at that law enforcement agency. If it takes you 3 days to get the message through to them that you're not leaving until they take the report, they'll get the message very quickly. But sometimes it takes pushback. It takes it takes respectful demonstration, right? Sitting there and saying, no, I'm not leaving until you take my child's case seriously, or my friend's case seriously, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you just have to do that to make them listen.
I think that would be fair. I think that, I say it time and time again. You guys have heard it, me talk about it during the Colin Brown investigation. You've heard me talk about it after our officer was injured in the line of duty, Nate Spees. From silver alerts to shooting investigations, our community helps us so much when it comes to solving crime. We know that we can't do that alone.
Yet you go out here and criticize them for posting stuff on social media and make social media look bad. I appreciate that. I still like this guy.
So if there's anybody that has any information about this home here at Dewey and Delore, where we are centered today, please come forward. You can call Crime Stoppers you can call District 1 detectives or District 3 detectives. It's a joint investigation, or Crime Stoppers. We know that there are certainly people out there that might have information or that tip that may help us solve this entire thing.
That piece of equipment, what's it technically?
I'm a PIO, not a machinist, so I don't work at Home Depot.
I want to ask you this.
He's a PIO. He doesn't know what it is. It's excavation equipment. I would say a backhoe of some sort.
Having seen what you just said, I mean, have you learned any details about the people who live there? The neighbors are saying it's a man and 2 roommates, male and female roommates. What can you tell us about the people who live at that house?
The people that live at that house are familiar with the detectives assigned to this investigation.
So he's basically saying they've had plenty of contact related to our individual investigators related to the missing person case. So this is not a surprise or a shock that they just show up at the house. That's the reading between the lines that I got from that statement. Let's listen to that again.
A man and 2 roommates, male and female roommates. What can you tell us about the people who live at that house?
The people that live at that house are familiar with the detectives assigned to this investigation. I'll just leave it at that.
And you're not saying whether the 2 people detained live at the house?
I don't know if they're, but the 2 people who do live at that house, or the people that live at that house, are familiar with our detectives and this investigation.
That has to be the frickin' parents. It has to be her mom and father or her family home. It has to be. It's too close to that intersection. We know that the 2024, they dug up the house. I thought it was 2023. 2023, 2024, they were there digging up the house, and they're saying they're ultra familiar with the investigation. I'm sorry, there's just one way I can interpret that, and that is that this is the only people that have come up in this investigation outside of the boyfriend, from everything I'm reading, is her family. Is her family. I don't know. I think this is the family home. I think this is the family home. I really do.
Okay. If there are any updates, or if there are any significant updates related to this search warrant, we will share that notification on X, and then we will provide another briefing depending on how this all develops through the next month.
So they're still at the end of this, still searching. So at this particular press conference, they were still in full swing of search efforts, and those search efforts at that time had not produced anything. I don't know if they've produced anything since. I haven't found any other press conference for later in the evening identifying whether they made headway or not. So I think it's interesting. So just to go over a few more things, because I did prepare the show, which very rarely I do, but since this was a new case and I needed to make sure I had all of the pertinent information, I wanted to make sure that that it was all written, so I didn't get confused, because I do review quite a few cases. This Dutchtown backyard discovery. Fast forward to 2024, the FBI executed a search warrant at a home in the Dutchtown area of St. Louis. Neighbors report seeing federal agents digging up the backyard. Heavy machinery was brought in, according to media reports. Remains, or at least items linked to human decomposition, were discovered. This wasn't a random search. Authorities had credible leads connecting that backyard to one or more missing persons, and Breyn's name quickly resurfaced. Locals watched in horror as the scene unfolded, speculating which missing individual or how many were buried beneath the soil. Missing person crisis in St. Louis. Breyn's case was tragically not isolated. 2020 saw an alarming increase in missing person cases in St. Louis area, especially among women of color. Unfortunately, many of these cases never made headlines. There is a systematic failure in how adult missing persons are treated compared to missing children. And when race, gender, and socioeconomic status come into play, the disparity becomes even more glaring. Now, we were unaware that there were multiple missing people 2020, as reminded, was during COVID. It was a lot easier to get lost because you had no contact with people in many of these areas. Florida did not close down. And while Manatee County did try to put us under a curfew, me as well as my community rose up against the people we employ to represent ourselves, and made sure that they fell in line, and fell in line very, very quickly. Most of them lost their job as a direct result of their handling of our county during the COVID era. Family dynamics with red flags. Digging deeper, Breann's family situation has long raised red flags. Sources indicated a pattern of dysfunction and possible abuse within the household. In some posts, relatives allude to Breann being in danger well before she disappeared. Police had reportedly been called to the home multiple times in the past, but no major actions seem to have been taken. Now, with the FBI excavation, many wonder if earlier interventions could have prevented what happened. Recent updates and law enforcement statements. As of today, authorities have remained tight-lipped about exactly what was found. No official identification of remains have been made public yet. However, the FBI has confirmed that the investigation is active and ongoing. They are asking anyone with information about Breayn Lee Miller or any other missing individuals tied to this resident to come forward. My biggest concern here is they're using sifters. They were using sifters back in 2024. When I hear the term sifter, I'm thinking of destruction by fire. I'm sorry, that's what goes straight to the top of my head when I start hearing sifters coming in, because they're looking for particles of bone. I also put a call to action. If anyone knows anything about Breayn Lee Miller or anyone who went missing in St. Louis area around 2020, now is the time to speak up. Visit the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department website, or reach out to the local FBI field office, or you can reach out to Crime Stoppers. Report anonymously. And you can also follow and support groups like Missing in Missouri on Facebook to stay informed about this case. I went there and I reviewed some things on their Facebook group. Breayn Lee Miller deserves justice. Every missing person deserves to be searched for, fought for, and remembered. Today we honor Breann's story and vow not to let these cases fade into the silence again. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay compassionate. For all the folks that were out there that decided to come here, learn about this case is deeply troubling to me personally. It's deeply troubling to me personally because we see a pattern across this country of the breakdown of the family unit. We're constantly seeing children hurting their parents, parents hurting their children. These are not normal behaviors that we as a civilized country should be okay with. This is not okay. There's something deeply troubling going on in our country, and I have to think one of the top things is the drug epidemic that is literally in everybody's home at this point. Somebody either knows somebody that's using drugs, or has dealt with somebody using drugs, or they themselves are an addict of some sort. We have got to, I think Americans, for whatever reason, we want what we want and we want it now. I think we are kind of designed that way. We're one of the freest countries in the world. I think we have a lot of privileges. A lot of other countries and places don't, by the design of our country, by our great founders. And I'm very thankful for that. But what also comes into play is we have free will. And we engage in things that are dangerous. And once we start engaging into things that are dangerous, we can unintentionally cause lifelong problems for ourselves. The epidemic of, pharmaceuticals that then turned into street narcotics, such as H, have been just plagued our country. Then we have a president, whether you like him or hate him, I really didn't care for him, leaving a wide open border where China as well as Mexico could smuggle in as much drugs as they ever wanted, further poisoning the people of this country. Now we have a flippin' mess from border to border in this country, and people doing terrible things to their families, to themselves, and more importantly, to their own damn children, and vice versa. Some of these children came from either drug addicted parents or have been infecting themselves through the use of non-stop online activity and video games that are not good. We have an uproar and very angry 20 and 30 something year olds in our country this day and age that think it's okay to scream on the sidelines, screaming to take away people's Second Amendment rights while they arm up with AK-47s and go to malls and other places that people they don't even know and hurt them. It started with Columbine, and now it's just infected our country. It's infected our country. I don't like knowing that kids, even adult kids, have crappy parents. If something ever happened to me, I can tell you the last place that any law enforcement would ever look is my immediate family. And I'm blessed to say that. But we have to remember there are so many thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of people that don't have the luxury of saying that. Tens of thousands of people across our country don't even know what it is to be loved by a parent or to love their child because they were never taught when they were growing up. For Breann's sake today, I'm just going to ask that you guys do something kind to a perfect stranger, but not just a perfect stranger. That when you see somebody struggling, maybe go buy them a cup of coffee or a sandwich. I'm totally against giving them cash. Me personally, I will not give somebody on the corner cash, but I'm happy to go buy them Egg McMuffin meal. You see the difference? I'm happy to buy them something that they need as opposed to giving them money. But do something kind to an individual today that you may see is struggling, because this young lady struggled, and I absolutely believe she was struggling with drugs. And the drugs inside and outside of her family brought this situation on. Is she partly responsible? I'm sure she is. She appears to have had a drug problem. That is her responsibility. But at the end of the day, when you don't have a good support system and everybody around you is doing drugs, is it really her fault? If she grew up with her parents doing this kind of stuff, is it really her fault? Is it really her fault? All right, guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, kind to one another, right? But I also wanted to tell you guys, happy Friday. TGIF, you guys made it through the week. By the grace of God, Bullhorn Betty made it through the week. And, most of the stuff that I needed to get done, again, by the grace of God. Yeah, that little, oh, it's no big deal thing. Okay. Is almost done. We're going into draft 2. And hopefully I won't need a draft 3 and I can prepare a final draft for review. And I always have to give myself a day because I personally type all of these pages myself, all of them. And when you type something and you write something, you always have to give yourself a day not looking at it. So when you go to read it, you can catch all of your mistakes. So I'm in the process of giving myself a day before reviewing it. Then tomorrow I will be reviewing it and hopefully being able to submit it. We will see. We will see. Anyways, guys, take care. God bless. This is not going to be the last live. Now that I've been able to shake some of the stuff that I had, on my shoulders off, we're going to start getting back on our track. So hopefully by noon today, we will be on the Crime Stories channel. The Crime Stories channel, we will be going over all of our breaking news updates. I wanted to bring you this case about Breayn because how many times do we hear about, mass graves and burials in the back of someone's yard? I honestly dove into this case thinking we had a serial killer in St. Louis, and come to find out it's a missing person girl that's been missing for 5 years, which still sad, right? But thank goodness it's not worse. But they keep being elusive. They keep being elusive because even in some of the articles, they imply that there may be more than one missing person. So obviously a lot of people went missing in St. Louis around this time. It sounds like more than they expect. I believe it's this lady. It could be somebody else. And you know what? Who knows? It could very well be exactly what the people in that community are saying that we don't know, because they're the ones that are boots on the ground. They're the ones boots on the ground. So I guess this case will be breaking open at some point. Let's just hope that Miss Miller does get justice. It does sound like she's deceased, and it sounds like they're trying to recover her to lay her to rest and bring the culprits to justice. All right, guys, have an amazing day, and we'll see you soon. From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work, we will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you. God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims.